Mom's heartfelt plea for my brother's life revealed hidden truths and inspiring kidney journey. Emily stood at the front of her classroom, surrounded by the joyful sounds of laughter and chatter. The kids were playing, their little faces lit up with excitement, but behind her warm smile was a heavy heart. Her brother, Tyler, once a soldier full of hope, was now in a battle far more brutal. His health was failing him, and the strain of mounting medical bills was crushing their family under its weight. With each passing day, the dark clouds of desperation gathered over their lives, and Emily could feel the anxiety tightening around her chest. That it wasn't just a gamble of survival, it had turned into a fight to keep the dreams alive. Their dreams, Tyler's dreams. When the news came that he needed a kidney donation, her heart ached, but she felt action bubbling inside her. She had to do something. So, she took a leap. One Sunday evening, after a long day filled with grading, she climbed onto her porch with her phone in hand and poured out her heart. "Our family needs your help," she typed, her fingers trembling with determination. The post went viral. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Words of support flooded in. Neighbors shared her post, friends rallied around, and the once quiet town of Hillcrest united under one common cause. But beneath this blanket of camaraderie, fissures began to surface. Secrets and classifications that once lay buried now emerged like weeds in a garden. Emily had inadvertently uncovered heartaches and resentments that left her feeling hollowed. What was supposed to be a path to healing for Tyler's health was morphing into a deep personal examination for their community. Does he deserve it? Someone had whispered at the bake sale, their tone laced with unspoken judgments. What about the others who had it harder? The question hung heavily in the air, thick with unvoiced opinions. Emily's heart sank. She had only sought unity against a common struggle, not this. But with every smile she received, she sensed the weight of others' thoughts, divided the echoes of privilege and despair. As setbacks rolled in, their promising donor suddenly withdrawing and the emotional toll piling higher, Emily faced an insurmountable challenge. How could she ask for help when many believed Tyler didn't earn it? She became entangled in a moral labyrinth, battling her own fears like a warrior. Would they see Tyler not just as the man they once knew but as someone deserving of a second chance? Then, from the ashes of turmoil, town hall meetings were called, tearing open conversations that needed to happen. Faces she thought she knew were laid bare, revealing a tapestry of shared struggles but also wrong turns and misunderstanding. With every shared story, a flicker ignited hope, but the chilling uncertainty loomed. Would these gatherings mold a change or solidify their divides? Emily knew this journey would define them all. They stood at a crossroads where love and bias collided, and only time would tell whether compassion could triumph over fear. But Tyler's life depended on it. The future, shrouded in uncertainty, begged the question, would the bonds of community hold strong enough to face the reckoning ahead? A chill settled into Emily's bones as she headed to the first town hall meeting. The church basement, usually vibrant with laughter and warm light, felt heavy and oppressive. Folding chairs creaked under the weight of unspoken fears and awkward glances. She approached the front, feeling the weight of their collective gaze, the shared anxiety palpable. As the meeting began, the atmosphere shifted. Emily felt a spark of hope as she listened to familiar voices. The mayor spoke about the need for unity, but there was an edge of tension. "This isn't just about Tyler," he said, drawing a nod from some in the room. "It's about our whole community." As he continued, she sensed some people were silently questioning Tyler's worthiness, letting their biases slip through the cracks of civility. "Why should we help him?" A woman finally blurted out, her voice quivering but determined. "What has he done for us?" Emily's heart raced, and her breath caught. Enough. She found herself shouting, surprising even herself. Tyler fought for this country, for all of us. What makes our love any less worthy of his struggle? Silence fell like a blanket, thick and heavy. She could feel all eyes on her, a mix of anger, surprise, and the tiniest flicker of understanding. The discussion shifted as others began to share their stories, tales of their own heartaches, struggles, and vulnerabilities. A man, once a quiet face in the crowd, spoke of his son's illness and the overwhelming burden of medical bills. A woman tearfully recounted her battle with cancer and how she felt alone fighting against her own odds. Each story tugged at the community's heartstrings, slowly turning the tide of the conversation. Emily's chest constricted with emotion, warm tears pricking at her eyes. "We all have our battles," she cried out, her voice softer now but filled with passion. "Why can't we just come together?" Gradually, the walls began to crack. People around her nodded, realizing for the first time that they weren't alone in their struggles. It dawned on them that, despite their differences, they all faced the unpredictable storm of life. The topic gradually shifted back to Tyler, and the love they could build together around him. But just as momentum began to swell, a familiar face from the back spoke up. "I don't see why we need to waste resources on him when there are others in need. It's unfair." The air thickened again, like fog enveloping the room. Emily felt her heart drop. Would they revert back to the old mentality? Before she could respond, a young girl stood up, shaking slightly but determined. "My dad was in the hospital. He was scared and alone," she bravely began. "Tyler deserves a chance just like everyone else." The soft yet courageous words echoed through the room, and for a moment, all of the adults paused, reeling from the purity of her plea. Then, one by one, others began to stand, sharing their own stories, their own fears. The room filled with voices, words weaving together a newfound understanding. Emily felt a warmth rising. This could be a moment of transformation, a shift towards compassion. As the meeting wrapped up, hope hovered in the air. Something was starting to change. But as Emily walked outside, a lingering thought gnawed at her. Could unity truly overcome the judgment? Would the bonds they forged last when faced with the hardest decisions? With Tyler's life hanging in the balance, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that their next step would be the most crucial yet. Would they step forward together, or would the cracks grow wider? An answer seemed ever more elusive, like the clouds that teased the rain. The days that followed the meeting were filled with an uneasy tension. Emily woke up each morning with a question swirling in her mind. How could they unite for Tyler? The town seemed divided, and every interaction felt charged with the unspoken rifts that had surfaced. When she entered the cafe for her usual morning coffee, the barista, Sarah, looked up and greeted her with a small frown. "Have you seen the news?" she asked, concern etched across her features. Emily shook her head, the heavy lump in her throat making it hard to speak. "Some folks aren't happy about what happened at the meeting," Sarah said softly, glancing toward a group of patrons who were busy whispering among themselves. "What do you mean?" Emily felt a rush of dread. "They're questioning how we can justify helping Tyler when there are so many others who need help too. It's divisive." Emily finished her thought, feeling a mix of anger and despair. She turned to take in the crowd, the usual warmth of the cafe suddenly feeling like a hostile environment. Was this what they had fought against just days ago? Had their small step forward spiraled into a larger conflict? That evening, Emily gathered with a few like-minded friends in her living room. They huddled around a coffee table, the dim light flickering over their worried faces. "We need a plan," she said, her voice steady but her heart racing. "If we want to make a difference for Tyler, we can't let the negativity win." "Maybe a fundraiser?" suggested Mark, who had always been the creative one among them. "Something that highlights the need for community support." "Yes!" Emily exclaimed, feeling a swell of excitement. "Let us put together an event that showcases not just Tyler's story but others as well. If we can show the community that we're all in this together, people will start to see each other differently," Carla added, her eyes lighting up with hope. "We can invite everyone to share the stories of anyone who is fighting their own battle." As they brainstormed ideas, Emily felt a warmth building within her. The thought of hosting an event, a true community gathering, filled her with a sense of purpose. They could create a safe space for those who felt isolated, extending the call for compassion to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstance. But as the night wore on, Emily was beset by an unsettling thought. What would happen if the very people they hoped to reach pushed back harder? What if they faced anger or rejection? The next few days turned into a whirlwind of preparations. Flyers were distributed, local businesses donated prizes for a raffle, and people began to show interest. As Emily stood at the community center the evening of the fundraiser, she looked around at the bustling crowd, her heart a mix of hope and dread. Just then, she spotted a figure lurking at the edge of the crowd, someone she hadn't expected to see. It was the woman who had opposed the meeting, her arms crossed defiantly. Emily's heart sank. Could they persuade her to see things differently? Taking a deep breath, Emily steeled herself. The moment felt heavy with potential, but also uncertainty. She hadn't just been organizing an event, she was stepping into a battleground of opinions. Would this night be the turning point they all needed, or would it expose deeper fractures that could threaten everything she believed in? Every encounter was a chance to heal or a step toward potentially irreparable divide. As the first guests took their seats, Emily fixed her gaze back at the woman. What next? Would she join them? The night was still full of unspoken possibilities, and Emily needed to be ready for whatever would come next. The soft buzz of chatter filled the community center, an excited hum that made Emily's stomach flutter. She stood at the front, fidgeting with her note cards. The moment had finally arrived, but the weight of their mission pressed heavily on her chest. Her eyes darted around the room. The woman who had opposed the meeting was still at the edge, her arms crossed tighter than before. Emily cleared her throat, drawing the crowd's attention. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Her voice trembled slightly, but she pushed through. We're gathered to support Tyler, but also to remind ourselves that we're not alone in our struggles. We have all faced battles, some big, some small. Tonight is about connection, understanding, and community. A few nods met her words, but a murmur rippled from the back of the room. Emily caught glimpses of skepticism. Her palms grew clammy. Would they see what she saw? Would they feel the same hope she felt? First, I'd like to share a little about Tyler, she continued, forcing a smile. He's not just a name, he's a kid who loves baseball. He has dreams, just like the rest of us. As she spoke, she could feel that familiar warmth in her chest. People were listening, she could see it in their faces. A video began playing on a nearby screen, images of Tyler smiling, running around at the baseball field flashed in front of the audience. She watched as a soft whiff of laughter curled through the group. Hope ignited in her heart. Then, Emily took a deep breath and turned to her friends. We also want to share stories from others in our community. One by one, people shared their struggles, health issues, family traumas, the kind of battles that often went unnoticed amid the daily chaos. As the stories unfolded, something extraordinary began to happen. Laughter broke out, tears fell, and the atmosphere shifted. Even the woman at the corner of the room slowly uncrossed her arms, her demeanor softening. Mark stepped up next, sharing his own experience with his mother's illness, the fear and uncertainty they faced. I thought I was alone, he said, his voice cracking slightly. But when I opened up, I found strength in unexpected places. A few people nodded knowingly, and Emily's heart swelled. She saw the emotions flickering on faces: pain, understanding, empathy. The room felt more connected than before, walls softly dissolving into empathy and support. Then, unexpectedly, the woman stepped forward. I didn't come here to support this. I came because I am worried about this town. Her words hung in the air, heavy but honest. Divisive situations scare me, but maybe I wasn't seeing things clearly. The room fell silent. Emily felt a jolt of surprise, but also hope. Could this be the breakthrough they needed? Let us find a way to make this work, the woman continued. We could lift each other instead of tearing each other down. Applause erupted, reverberating around the center, and Emily watched as connections sparked among the crowd. Stories were shared, tears were dried, and laughter filled the gaps of silence. The energy shifted completely. Emily realized they were all anchored to something bigger now, solidarity not just for Tyler, but for one another. As the night wrapped up, Emily glanced at the woman one last time. She had come to oppose, yet she was leaving with a different mindset. Maybe they were beginning to understand that when they support one, they support many. Just as Emily stepped off the makeshift stage, she felt a hand touch her shoulder. Carla leaned close. "Do you think this is really it? Are we changing minds?" "I hope so," Emily replied, a mixture of excitement and nervousness swirling inside her. "But what if tonight was just the beginning? What if we're about to uncover more stories? We need to keep digging." With the anticipation hanging thick in the air, Emily ventured out into the crowd, prepared for the next wave of revelations, uncertain of what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear: this was only the start of their journey. What hidden truths might still emerge, waiting to be uncovered? The day after the meeting, Emily woke up with a weight on her chest that felt heavier than before. She had gone to bed with hope coursing through her veins, but now the dawn felt dimmer. The busyness of a fresh morning didn't quite match the chaos swirling in her mind. She paced her kitchen, the smell of brewing coffee barely registering as she replayed last night's meeting over and over. Even though they had made strides, the understanding she craved still felt distant. What if tonight's connections were just a flash in the pan? She picked up her phone, intending to call Mark, but hesitated. What if he didn't feel the same optimism? "Okay, breathe," she whispered, grabbing her notebook instead. She needed to write, that always helped. As she scribbled down thoughts, searching for a way to channel her energy, every stroke on the page felt purposeful. What if others could contribute their stories, too? She envisioned a community wall, a place to post their experiences where everyone could see, drawing eyes and hearts together. Just as she was getting into a flow, her phone vibrated. It was Carla. "Hey, did you check your email?" No. "Why?" "Tyler's mom just sent something out." "You need to see this," Carla urged. Emily's heart raced as she clicked into her inbox. The brief message contained a link. With shaky fingers, she tapped, and a video began playing. It was Tyler's mom, sitting at a kitchen table that looked familiar, lit softly by the morning sun. Emily felt a lump in her throat as she prepared to hear her struggles. "Hey, everyone," Tyler's mom began, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for coming together for Tyler." Emily leaned closer, captivated. Tears welled in her eyes as Tyler's mom continued, sharing snippets of their journey: how they fought to get a kidney donor, how they felt when hope seemed lost. "But not only are we fighting for Tyler, I've realized we're part of something bigger. We all have these silent battles, and support means everything. I want to include those stories, your stories, so we can keep this movement alive." The sincerity in her voice echoed Emily's thoughts. But evidence of the urgency flickered in Tyler's mom's gaze. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes fierce with determination. "We need more than words, we need actions. We need to continue creating change." Emily's heart raced. This was the digging she had yearned for, a call to action that felt personal, more than just words on a note cards or community gatherings. "Are you still there?" Carla's voice broke through her reverie. "I'm here," Emily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did you hear that? We need to make an impact." That moment crackled with energy. "Exactly. We need to get everyone on board. Do you think we can launch something together?" Carla asked, excitement evident in her tone. "Yes. A drive, a fundraiser. We can invite people to bring in their stories alongside donating, creating connections through shared experiences." Emily felt a surge of adrenaline. They could do this. They had to. But deep down, a flicker of doubt lingered. What if it all fell through? What if people didn't want to share? What if no one stepped forward? She pushed those thoughts deep, knowing they couldn't afford to dwell on fear. "Let us meet tonight. We'll brainstorm and get started," she suggested. "Absolutely. We're going to change things, Emily." "Just you wait," Carla replied. As Emily hung up, she took a deep breath. They had momentum now. She may not know what lay ahead, but she felt a shift towards something meaningful. With a determined smile slowly creeping in, she whispered to herself, "Let us make a difference." But lingering in her chest was a question: was this just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would uncover secrets they hadn't anticipated? Emily spent the entire day teetering between excitement and anxiety, preparing for the evening meeting with Carla. The hours dragged as she worked on her proposal, her mind swirling with ideas. She wanted to create something tangible, a beacon of hope and support. She grabbed her notebook and began sketching out plans for the fundraiser. By mid-afternoon, her living room transformed into chaos, pages scattered, stacks of flyers, half-empty coffee cups piling up. Maybe I'm overdoing it, she thought, a familiar doubt creeping in. But each time she reconsidered, the image of Tyler's mom flashed through her mind, her fierce resolve resonating deeply within Emily's gut. "Focus," she muttered, rubbing her temples. She jotted down a list of potential activities: bake sales, story-sharing nights, perhaps even a community auction. Approaching this with open arms felt necessary, more than just charity. It was about connecting lives. When the clock struck 6, Emily took one last glance at her hastily arranged notes before heading out. Carla's enthusiasm had sparked something in her she hadn't expected. The prospect of creating change stirred a fire inside her. She wondered how many others were ready to step into the light. As she entered the cafe where they had agreed to meet, a wave of nervous energy washed over her. The cozy space buzzed with chatter, but Emily barely noticed. She scanned the room, finally settling her eyes on Carla waving excitedly from a corner booth. A sense of relief washed over her, knowing she wouldn't have to navigate this alone. "Hey. Sorry if I'm late. How was your day?" Carla asked, beaming. "Long but good. I've got ideas, lots of them," Emily exclaimed, feeling her spirits lift. She slid into the booth and began unfolding her plans, her words tumbling out in a rush. Carla listened intently, aligning herself with Emily's passion. "Wow, you really went for it," Carla noted, her eyes wide. "I love it. We should start with the community wall idea. It could draw people in before we even launch the fundraiser." "Yes. People need to feel connected." The more they talked, the more they realized they were onto something. Each idea bounced off the walls of the booth, shifting and growing until they created the seed of an event that felt palpable. But as creative energy filled the air, a sudden chill coursed through Emily's veins. What if nobody shows up? What if they don't want to share their stories? The questions nagged at her, an itch she couldn't scratch. "Emily," Carla said, gently interrupting her spiral. "You have to remember why we're doing this. It's not about the numbers, it's about the connections. One story is enough. One person can change everything." That struck a chord. Emily nodded slowly, allowing Carla's words to settle in her heart. "You're right. Just one that could ignite the spark." They spent hours discussing and planning. As they wrapped up, Emily felt the weight of uncertainty begin to lift, replaced by a cautious optimism. "Let us launch the community wall this weekend. It's time." "Absolutely." Carla agreed, slapping the table in excitement. "And we can invite everyone. Tyler's family, the neighbors, everyone we know. This is going to be big." Emily's heart raced, the reality of their plans settling in. Laughter bubbled between them as they envisioned what the wall might look like, the stories coming together like a colorful tapestry. But amid the joy lay a tugging worry: what if they were pouring their hearts into a project that wouldn't resonate? "Are we ready for this?" she asked, looking directly into Carla's eyes. Carla paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. "We have to be. We owe it to Tyler, to ourselves, and to everyone who needs to be heard." As they stepped out into the crisp evening air, a new sense of determination settled over Emily. But as she walked, a nagging thought lingered: what hidden truths would emerge as they opened this door? And could they handle the weight of those stories? The weekend arrived faster than Emily anticipated. As she woke up on Saturday morning, sunlight filtered through her bedroom curtains, casting soft shadows across her walls. The excitement from last night still lingered, but so did the gnawing worry that had threatened to overshadow her joy. She glanced at her phone, the screen lighting up with a reminder for the launch of the community wall later that day. Her stomach flipped as she fumbled out of bed. Today was about more than just a wall, it was a gathering of souls, a chance for connection amidst shared pain. Emily quickly showered and dressed, keeping her movements brisk to stave off the building anxiety. She meticulously reviewed her presentation notes, occasionally catching glimpses of her reflection in the mirror. "You can do this," she whispered under her breath, forcing a smile. When she arrived at the cafe, it was already bustling. Tables were adorned with colorful paper hearts, each inscribed with little messages of hope and resilience. Volunteers moved about, arranging chairs and setting up displays. The air was sweetened with the scent of baked goods mingling with freshly brewed coffee. It felt alive like a heartbeat. "Emily. You're here." Carla called out, waving frantically across the room. Her face was flushed with excitement, and her energy was infectious. Emily made her way over, feeling the warmth of Carla's enthusiasm wash over her. "Wow, it looks amazing," she exclaimed, taking in the transformed space. "Just wait until you see the wall. We've got paints, markers, everything ready for people to share their stories," Carla said, her eyes sparkling. For a moment, hope fluttered in Emily's chest. But as she scanned the crowd, a weight settled back in. What if these preparations weren't enough? What if the community didn't want to engage? "Are you feeling okay?" Carla noticed Emily's demeanor, her voice dropping to a softer tone. "Yeah, just nervous, I guess," Emily admitted, squeezing her hands together. "What if nobody wants to participate? Then we'll change that. We'll talk to everyone, invite them to share just a little bit," Carla reassured her, a steady hand on Emily's shoulder. As the hour approached, people began to filter in. Families, neighbors, strangers, all drawn together by a shared sense of community. Emily felt a tingle of energy in the air. They were ready to launch their dream. Carla walked to the front, her voice ringing with clarity. "Welcome, everyone. We're here to create something special together, a space where our stories can shine." As she spoke, Emily stood back and observed the gathering. Faces lit up with interaction, laughter mixed with stories shared quietly. It felt like watching the dawn break, soft, but undeniably bright. Finally, as the moment came to unveil the community wall, Emily stepped forward. With her heart thudding in her chest, she took a deep breath and said, "This isn't just about sharing. It's about healing, and honestly, it's about connection, no matter how hard it can be." People began to approach, some hesitantly at first. The wall transformed slowly, a patchwork quilt of colors, words, and emotions. Each new addition resonated like a pulse, drawing in those who observed, but amid the joy, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was brewing. She could see a couple in the back, leaning into each other, whispering and glancing toward the wall. As someone shared their story, their expressions shifted from curiosity to something more profound. Suddenly, Emily realized they were about to witness moments of painful honesty, stories that might not only invoke inspiration but ripple through the hearts of everyone present. Could she handle the weight of those emotions? The first tear fell when someone shared a story about a son they had lost, and Emily felt her heart crack. The pain was raw, but just as she feared the surge of grief would overwhelm her, she saw others begin to gather around him, a community wrapping a blanket of understanding and love around that shared sorrow. The walls of the cafe couldn't contain the palpable connection. Emily gripped her notebook tightly, warmth spreading through her as she witnessed people leaning into the vulnerability of others. This was what they had hoped for, a place to breathe without judgment. But then, just as she felt the air thicken with connection, a voice rang out over the crowd, equally curious and unexpected. "I have something to say too." Emily turned towards the sound, her breath hitching in her throat. Who was about to speak? What hidden truths would emerge now? The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward the new voice. Would this bring the community closer? Or unravel everything they had built in that moment? The cafe held its breath. All eyes turned toward the woman who had stood up, her hands clasped tightly together. Emily recognized her as Laura, a mother of two who always seemed to wear a mask of strength. Today, however, her eyes shimmered with a vulnerability that captivated the room. Laura began, her voice trembling just enough that Emily could feel the warmth of her nervousness. I need to share something important. The mood shifted slightly, a collectively held gasp of concern flitted through the crowd. Emily could only imagine the thoughts racing through everyone's minds. What could be so serious? Laura's mouth quivered as she continued. My son, Jake, has been sick for a while. He needs a kidney transplant. The words hung heavy in the air, thickening the atmosphere with palpable sympathy. Emily's heart ached for her. Laura hadn't just shared a condition, she had revealed a battle. I've been so focused on his health that I forgot about sharing the struggle with you all. I guess I was scared, Laura confessed, her voice breaking. So many people get sick, and here I am feeling so lost. Tears began to trickle down Laura's cheeks. Emily felt a wave of emotions wash over her, her own eyes welling up in solidarity. She took a step forward, wanting to offer comfort, but the moment was too precious. The rawness held everyone in place, wrapped with attention. When I heard about this event, I thought maybe sharing would help me find someone who can help my son. With every word, Laura unlocked more emotions from those around her. She wasn't just speaking about her son's medical condition, she was reaching out for connections, for community support, unraveling that armor of strength. I'm asking for anyone who might think they can donate to consider being tested. I know it's a lot to ask. But Jake is only 13, he deserves a chance. The silence that followed was heavy with contemplation. A moment later, the cafe erupted in murmurs. Emily glanced around, feeling the weight of the moment settle on everyone like a blanket, soft yet suffocating. Some patrons turned to each other, words of encouragement fluttered silently, and she noticed nods of understanding. But then an older gentleman, his voice steady with sincerity, called out, You aren't alone, Laura. We're here for you. The chorus of voices began to rise as others chimed in with words of support. We'll help however we can. You don't have to do this alone. The warmth from the crowd surged, enveloping Laura in a literal wave of community. Emily's heart thumped with hope. This was what they had aimed for, a place where raw truths could connect people in profound ways. But just then, a figure stepped forward too, a young man who had been quietly leaning against the wall. He looked nervous, but something in his stance screamed determination. Laura, he called firmly, I might not be the right match, but I'd like to help organize donors, spread the word, anything. Emily's breath hitched again, astonished. This was the spirit of collaboration they had dreamed of manifesting. An unexpected ally emerging from the shadows. Before she could process this new development, another voice rose from the back, I'll help with anything. Let us make this bigger. Don't lose hope. Laughter mixed with tears, and she could see Laura's face transform from devastation to belonging. This was at the moment of connection where fear was tempered by love, yet, even amidst the stirrings of hope and community, Emily felt a tingling in her chest, a curiosity about the young man who had spoken out. Who was he? What drove his passion? She leaned slightly, eager to understand the depth of his commitment. As the crowd continued to rally around Laura, Emily realized that their hearts were woven together in ways both beautiful and unseen. But now, she couldn't help but wonder, what secrets might be hidden within this community that could emerge next, waiting to be shared. The cafe buzzed with a lively mix of voices, a new energy enveloping the earlier heaviness that hung in the air. Emily watched as Laura was surrounded, her tears turning from sorrow to something brighter, more hopeful. She caught glimpses of smiles and open arms, connections forming like fresh threads in a tapestry. The young man who had stepped forward, Marcus, stood tall. His expression was intent, a fierce dedication shining from his eyes. We can set up a social media campaign. Maybe even a fundraising event, he suggested, his voice stronger now, each word infused with determination. Emily felt inspired as she listened to him, her heart racing in response to the possibilities unfolding. She could see where this was heading. The cafe was transforming into a hub of action, a birthplace for new dreams. But who was Marcus? What made him care so deeply about someone he barely knew? As conversations erupted around her, Emily gravitated closer to Marcus. The words flowed from him effortlessly, a mixture of excitement and urgency as he tapped into the spirit of the moment. If we can unite the community, there's no telling how many lives we could touch. His passion was contagious. Emily found herself gripping the edge of the table, anticipation lighting a fire in her chest. She wanted to join him, to help, but she also yearned to understand the man behind the movement. "What makes you want to do this?" she asked, her voice barely audible above the chatter. Marcus glanced at her, surprise flickering across his face. "Honestly?" He hesitated, weighing his vulnerability. "I lost my sister last year to complications from diabetes. She needed a kidney transplant too, and no one could help in time." His gaze dropped momentarily, a deep sadness washing over him. Emily felt her heart turn, empathy pouring in like rain after a dry spell. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. His eyes sparked with a mix of grief and resolve. "I don't want anyone else to feel that loss. If I can make a difference for Laura and Jake, I have to try." There was a fierce nobility in his voice, and she could see he wasn't just striving for community connection, he was reaching for redemption. Before she could process her emotions, Laura turned to them, a fresh resolve etched on her face. "Let us do it. We can start by sharing Jake's story. We need to get it out there." The determination in her tone ignited a fire in the crowd once more. Emily felt a surge of energy ripple through everyone present. Lived experiences were merging, creating a patchwork of support woven from loss, hope, and the unwavering love of family. It was beautiful to witness. She looked at Marcus, and for a moment, their eyes met, shared understanding buzzing between them. There were deeper connections at play today, shadows of past losses igniting a powerful drive toward change. "Okay," Emily said, "I'm in too. Let us figure out how to spread the word." She could feel her purpose coalescing around them, raw and undeniable. As they began brainstorming ideas, even more voices chimed in, each offering skills and resources. A tech was offered to create a website, a local business owner pledged to host the fundraising event. The cafe was overflowing with a new spirit, reclaiming their losses and transforming grief into compassion. The minutes turned into hours, the energy palpable, and yet, a part of Emily felt the weight of unasked questions lingering in the background. They were on the brink of something remarkable, but amidst this outpouring of support, what other stories were waiting to be told? What unrelated struggles might surface as the community came together? As laughter spread, and plans solidified, one thought echoed in her mind: there were untold truths surrounding every person in this room, waiting patiently for their chance to be heard. And she couldn't shake the feeling that someone else was about to step forward. Suddenly, the door of the cafe swung open, and in walked a familiar face, someone who had always kept to the sidelines. Emily's heart skipped a beat. What would they bring into this moment of healing? The door swung open, and there stood Carol, a woman whose quiet presence had often floated in the background of community gatherings. Her usual smiles had been replaced by a somber expression, and she looked both nervous and determined. The room quickly went silent, all eyes now on her. She started, her voice shaky yet filled with purpose. "Can I share something?" Emily felt a stirring inside her, a mix of excitement and curiosity. This was it. Another layer of connection was about to unfold. "Of course, Carol. We're all here to listen," Emily urged, her heart racing as anticipation spread through the crowd. Carol stepped forward, her hands clasped tightly together. A deep breath steadied her nerves. "I've kept my story to myself for too long," she began, gazing at the supportive faces around her. "But watching Laura speak about her son, it reminded me that I shouldn't be ashamed. We need to be honest if we want to support one another." Emily sensed a collective holding of breath, a curiosity bound tightly with empathy. "My daughter, Leah, has been living with chronic illness for years," Carol continued, her voice gaining strength. "Many of you might not know this about us. We've struggled in silence." The honesty in her words felt like a rising tide, lifting the heaviness that had clouded the room. Tears brimmed in Carol's eyes, and suddenly, all the pain and isolation she carried poured out. Leah needs surgeries that aren't covered by insurance. I'm scared of losing her, but I often felt I couldn't reach out for help. It's like I was trapped in an invisible cage. She took another deep breath, clasping her chest in a testament of vulnerability. As Carol bared her heart, a ripple of understanding swept across the room. Emily felt tears welling in her own eyes. It was happening. The wall they had built wasn't just a wall, it was an opening. Thank you for sharing, Carol, Emily said softly, feeling the warmth of solidarity swell around them. You're so brave. And please know you're not alone. Looking around, Emily saw heads nodding, tears glistening, and hands reaching out to comfort Carol. It felt as if the entire cafe had transformed into a sanctuary, embracing their collective struggles and turning pain into purpose. I want to help Leah, a young man piped up. How can I contribute? His sincerity propelled others to join in. What if we started a donation page with a goal to support both Jake and Leah? We could rally the community. As voices clamored in support, a new energy ignited the crowd. The idea of coming together for these two families felt powerful. Emily stood, her heart swelling with pride. They were building something incredible, a web of community support where no one would feel alone again. Together, we can make a difference, Marcus added, his voice resonating strongly. This isn't just about one person, it's about all of us. Let us do a joint fundraiser, combine stories, combine efforts. Ideas flowed freely: bake sales, yard sales, possibly even a neighborhood carnival. Amid discussions, Carol's face lit up with gratitude. You all are truly amazing, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. I never imagined this kind of support. Leah will feel so loved. The energy in the cafe soared, laughter mixing with tears of joy and connection. Emily soaked in the moment, overwhelmed by the realization that they had blossomed from doubt and division into a vibrant tapestry of empathy woven together with shared stories. They were truly transforming together, embracing every single story, stigma, and struggle. The cafe became a beacon of resilience, a reminder of how voices raised in unison can shatter the illusions of loneliness. As the evening began to fade into night, they huddled together, smiles bright against the backdrop of hope pinched in with shared burdens. Who's ready to spread the word? Emily shouted, the thrill of possibility electrifying the air. The room erupted in enthusiastic cheers. This was the moment they'd all been waiting for, a turning point where they could expand their community from one heart to another. They would share not just the stories of Tyler and Jake and Leah, but the fabric of lives intertwined by compassion and hope. And as the night wore on, Emily stepped back, warmth radiating from her chest. She had invited vulnerability into their lives, and now, together, they had unearthed a new journey forged in love and understanding. As she looked around, she felt sure of one thing: this would not just be a moment but the dawn of ongoing support, friendship, and an enduring legacy of resilience. Thousands of stories awaited. And the community was ready to tell them. Now is your chance to join this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now to catch more inspiring stories. Leave a like now to support us and keep this message of hope alive. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this transformative journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful shift. Only true fans understand how important it is to uplift our community through these actions.